Coming up in This Week in Computer Hardware, GDC 2015, Valve's $50 Steam Link, HTC VR Headset, NVIDIA's SHIELD set-top box, and Titan X GPU, AMD Radeon R9 GPU, sneak peek, Intel's new mobile CPUs, and so much more. It's all coming up next on TWiCH.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiCH.
Bandwidth for TWiCH is provided by CacheFly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is TWiCH, This Week in Computer Hardware, episode 305, recorded March 5th, 2015. So much Coolage from the Game Developers Conference. This episode of This Week in Computer Hardware is brought to you by Prosper. Prosper is a peer-to-peer lending marketplace which connects people who are looking to borrow money with those who have money to lend. Visit prosper.com/twit and receive a $50 Visa gift card when you get a loan. This episode of TWiCH is brought to you by lynda.com, the online learning platform with over 3,000 on-demand video courses to help you strengthen your business, technology, and creative skills. For a free 10-day trial, visit lynda.com/twitch. That's lynda.com/TWiCH. This episode of This Week in Computer Hardware is brought to you by iFixit. You can fix it, and iFixit makes it easy with free step-by-step repair guides, high-quality replacement parts, and all the tools you'll need. For $10 off your purchase of $50 or more, go to ifixit.com/twit and enter the code TWiCH, that's TWiCH, at checkout. Welcome to TWiCH, This Week in Computer Hardware, TWiCH's weekly show that aims to bring you the most useful, most informative, most engaging, and apparently today, fastest spoken collection of computer hardware news, tablets, gaming, console, hardware, phony tablety goodness. Joining me, ladies and gentlemen, not Mr. Ryan, who's trapped on a big silver tube, hurtling back to Kentucky from a glorious at the Game Developers Conference here in Northern California, but Mr. Allyn Malventano, man of restraint, dignity, and mad piles of storage. Allyn, how you doing, man?
How's it going, Patrick?
I'm a bit of a freak, but I'm good. Anything exciting this week in store SSDs? It seems like we've gone maybe 8 or 9 days without anything new being released.
Well, a couple of days ago, Transporter updated their line of stuff, but I just haven't written that up yet. They added a couple new models. Transporters are those guys that are the Drobo guys also, right? It's basically like a Dropbox kind of thing, but the storage device is Drobo-based, and yeah. But they're basically kind of ramping up, like, you know, more models and like not necessarily rack mount, really enterprise stuff. They're trying to make it more kind of small business. Sit this box on your desktop, and it'll be like a 30-user transporter device, right? That kind of stuff. And there's some storage stuff I'm not allowed to talk about yet, but you know. GDC stuff kind of took over, so it did not leave us without things to talk about.
So GDC 15, Valve shows off the $50 Steam Link game streaming box. Tim Berry wrote this up for PC Per. Quote, Valve has slowly but surely been working on its living room gaming initiative. And it's kind of funny. Steam machines are out there as a theoretical, but the Steam Link is what they announced at GDC this year. Streaming your Steam content from your computers and Steam machines to your TV over a local network. November launch, $50. And then you can pair with the controller for another $50. This is kind of really curious because they basically, it looks like they have a picture of a 3D render. It'll work with Valve's in-home streaming technology, which is kind of because Michael Hand and I, who are working on a DIY show called Possibly Unsafe, built a Raspberry Pi and a Raspberry Pi Model 2 into Steam streaming boxes. And now suddenly, out of nowhere, Valve has basically heard that we were going to preempt their entire market and decided to release the announcement on this 1080p 60 hertz wired connection because they want to minimize latency, a pair of USB ports, HDMI output, AC power jack, and then there's a third USB port, Tim writes, located on the left side of the Steam Link. The question is are they going to ship it? Are they going to work in Valve time, or are they actually going to ship it in November? Are you excited for another set-top box? Because there's another one we're going to talk about that's 4 times as much as the Steam Link. But I mean, do you care at this point, or are you just going to connect a gaming PC to your living room machine?
That's what I do.
Living room
but there
screen.
are plenty of yeah, I mean, I just intend to have like a full-blown Actually, I have a laptop running on there, right, and acting kind of like a home theater PC and streaming videos and playing some games, not that much. But that's me.
Okay.
And, we're kind of crazy in some of our hardware stuff that we do. But there, there's plenty of people out there that are just going to want to be like, hey, I can just stream this Steam game from my PC in the other room to my TV over here, and all I have to do is just put this box on it. Okay. I can see it. And, it's not that expensive. So, yeah.
Yeah, $50. $100 for the controller is a little harder, but $50 it seems a little bit more reasonable. It's kind of funny.
I wonder, are the controllers limited to specifically that pricey controller, or can you just like plug in any, like a USB Xbox controller or something, right? Maybe.
We'll find out, but it sounds like they're trying to lock it down into either for simplicity on their port or as a significant revenue generator. Because if you start looking at games where there's like 4 people competing, 4 controllers, it's $200 on top of a $50 box. It has a lot of potential.
It does.
I thought it was interesting.
And, if it can stream at 60 frames a second, that's good. The only thing I'd be worried about is maybe the latency, right? Because you're still going to get some latency, regardless of, even if it's only on your local network, there is some latency that you add there. So if you're trying to do TWiCH shooter kind of things, or anything that's a really fast reaction time, like a really high-speed driving game kind of thing,
sure,
it might not be that pleasurable, but that remains to be seen.
We need a set-top box that's more pleasurable. I'm just going to stop it right there. HTC announces the Vive VR headset in partnership with Valve. It's kind of funny. So Mobile World Congress, which is the cell phone gathering, Galaxy S6 looks fast, Galaxy X6 Edge, which looks a lot like the Galaxy X6, Sony Xperia X4, which is a weird name for a tablet. All big news going on at Mobile World Congress. But what was really kind of crazy is HTC, the phone company, announced the Vive VR headset at Mobile World Congress, which is the partnership with Valve, I guess, or they developed with Valve. So this is a developer edition, very similar to the developer's edition that we've heard about from Oculus Rift, except it's a pair of 1200 by 1080 displays with 90 hertz refresh rate, which is some really impressive specs. By the way, Scott Michaud wrote this up. And they're saying it'll launch this spring, which is really, really practically now. The consumer edition, of course, will launch in time for the holiday season, they hope. They made sure to underline 2015, Scott writes, so they're serious. More information, that will be for Valve to discuss at Game Developers Conference. And Scott's comment was interesting. He's like, why isn't this partnered with Oculus, given that Michael Abrash left Valve to go to Oculus? At this point, are there just too many potential VR headsets? Do you care at this point?
At this point, I'm not sure if there's enough, because
really,
you don't see a lot of stuff developed for them yet, right? And it's not, it hasn't really caught on. So, and the few that are out there, they're not really, you don't see them like at every person's house or anything like that. It hasn't really gained traction yet. It's a thing. It looks cool. Like we have the newer version of the Rift at work, and I've toyed around with it, and it's shockingly realistic and almost made me throw up and stuff like that. But it has.
Was that a feature or a bug? Well, the Oculus Rift demo at CES was really amazing for me because I didn't want to vomit, at least not maybe till some bullet time slow motion stuff at the end, but it was incredibly immersive.
The thing that made me want to throw up was like that thing that's spinning you around on that wheel, where the chair is also spinning around and everything. Like the intention was to make you nauseous.
Okay,
and it totally made me nauseous. Yeah.
It's funny that the first comment on the Vive VR post on PC Per is, quote, time for the barf test benchmarks. Get the person who's most susceptible to the VR syndrome and be sure to feed them lots of colorful foods, which is just, but it's funny because the Oculus Rift, to their credit or to their misfortune, because they were so early on this, they were so bleeding edge that so many people associate VR with wanting to vomit with Oculus Rift. So maybe being a latecomer will help. I'll be curious to see what about the Valve research kind of differentiates them against other ones. And I just want to jump into what something I did not expect coming out of GDC. Ryan wrote this up. The Shield Tegra X1 powered set-top box Android TV.
Yep. Yeah.
Why?
So there's another set-top box.
So,
I don't know.
So so it's a place where they can show off NVIDIA's latest 8-core Maxwell's GPU, the Tegra X1 system on a chip. It's running Android TV, which is a nice choice. Probably a choice for NVIDIA because they have a complete sort of lean back, living room friendly environment. Game playing, multimedia watching, grid streaming set top box. It looks like, the thing the obelisk, the tower you just scroll by is a strong sign that they really missed the boxy box, or maybe they were responsible for the peculiar boxy box design. It's interesting,
really,
right? So they're going to
really
get
nice looking. It's got good hardware,
it's funny. It's good hardware as long as you really want to show off to everybody who sees your living room or your television that you have this piece of hardware, or if it's hidden in your closet. I definitely think Android's smart because, so they get all the Google Play media. That means music, movies, and apps. They're saying Shield's going to support 4K video playback at 60 hertz because it's got an HDMI 2.0 connection, H.265 HEVC codec. Hardware coding on the Tegra X1 processor is pretty awesome. Crazy giant buttons. You get the set top. That's the set top. Excuse me, not the set top unit. That's the Shield controller, which is the same one that came out with the tablet last year. $199 shipping in May. That's compelling, but it also seems like a 4K Ouya with access to the Play media system. Is that compelling for you?
There's actually more detail on this.
Okay.
On the next link you have in there in the notes, but because Ryan actually got to toy around with one. But I mean,
hold that thought for 1 second, because we should probably you hold that thought for 1 second. I'm going to take a moment to thank Prosper. We should take a moment to thank our sponsor, Prosper. Prosper.com, people. If you haven't heard about it, look, it's a way to lend money using the internet. Don't back off right. There's not that many good ways to borrow money when you need it. Friends, family, credit card companies, traditional bank loans. Here's the idea. Prosper.com will give you a low fixed rate loan. They think they found a better way. Borrow up to $35,000 in as few as 5 days and use the money for just about anything you desire. Pay off high-rate credit cards, pick up the house, put it into your business. What Prosper does is they put together an online marketplace that connects people who need money with those who want to invest in you. Don't rack up more debt in your credit cards. Pay them off with Prosper. It's really cool. Get your low rate instantly without affecting your good credit. That's a cool deal there, people. Go check it out at prosper.com/twit. Prosper's offering TWiT viewers for a limited time a $50 Visa gift card with your low-interest loan. You can get up to $35,000 in your account in as few as 5 days and a $50 Visa gift card. Go to prosper.com/twit for this special offer just for TWiT viewers. So you were saying that Ryan, who, again, is on the big silver plane right now, he got hands-on and to play it, or just hands-on to examine the hardware?
It looks like just to examine it. I'm not sure if he wrote any actual sit down play impressions.
Okay.
I'm sure we're going to have those pretty soon because we're probably going to sample this.
Right.
But I mean, there's some good pictures with showing all the ports on the side, and does have a micro SD card slot, right? Couple USB,
well, it's funny, it's
HDMI.
16 gigabytes of storage, 802.11a, 802.11 AC, 2x2 MIMO, 2.4 gigahertz, 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi, Bluetooth 4.1, gigabit Ethernet, like I mentioned before, HDMI 2.0, a pair of 3.0 ports, a micro USB 2.0 port, a micro SD card slot, an IR receiver that'll work with the Logitech Harmony. Of course, it comes with a grid streaming service and NVIDIA Game Stream because NVIDIA is still trying to figure out a good place to push those. It's kind of crazy that Tegra X1 processor's got 256 cores.
Yeah,
3 gigabytes of RAM. So that is really compelling to me, just in terms of performance, and that's part of why they can sort of feed a 4K system.
Yeah, and it's a $200 box. I mean, it's not, the price isn't bad.
So it's a pretty badass 4K capable streaming box, and I also love the fact that they've got Plex bundled with it. That's actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. So 128 gigabytes max in the micro SD card slot for content and local games. Interesting, interesting, interesting.
More interesting is the next article.
What is the next article?
Titan X.
Oh, man. So were they
Yeah.
demoing that too at GDC?
They ran a demo on it. And it's not like it's out, but there was one in the flesh that was given to... let's see what they do. They ran the kite demo on it. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, and like from the looks of it, it ran pretty dang smooth, right? Which is, significant considering it's just running on a single GPU.
Right.
But from the looks of it, this is basically like 1.5 of a 980.
Mm-hmm.
So like 50% gain on a 980 on one card with one GPU without having to worry about SLI. And this one in particular is 12 gig of RAM, but I mean, it's probably only a matter of time before a 980 Ti comes out, which is basically kind of sort of this, but maybe clocked a little slower and with half the RAM, which would only be like 6 gig, right? Which is kind of a little bit more reasonable for what, typical gaming consumer kind of person's going to be, right? If you're going to play Unreal on this thing, you don't necessarily need 12 gig of RAM on one GPU. Yeah, but it's coming. We've known something like this was going to come. We just didn't know what it was going to be called and how soon and whatnot. The other thing that was pretty cool is Ryan got a look at it afterwards, and it only uses an 8-pin plus a 6-pin PCIe power connector. So it's not 2 8-pin. So if you do the math on that, it would work
That's
out
interesting.
it would work out to like max TDP should be like no more than 300, but it might actually be even a little bit lower than 300 watts. Yeah, I mean, considering, how many pixels the thing can push around, that's pretty good. But NVIDIA's been doing the whole really low power, very power efficient kind of GPU thing for a little while now, with the 980 and the 970 launches, and then the 960 launch. So, yeah, pretty cool. I don't know what that's going to mean for, we'd have to wait until a TI version came out of the 980 really to start comparing like prices, because this is more going to be like a GPU kind of like people using their GPUs for number crunching and other purposes other than just gaming, right? That's really what the Titan X is going to be more suited for. And it's probably going to be priced accordingly. So it's probably going to be up there like, somewhere around 1,500, 1,400, something like that for a single card. It's kind of up there. It's definitely a businessy kind of price. They haven't announced one, but this is just kind of like speculation on my end.
That's a lot of money for a GPU.
It is a lot of money, and and the SLI connector looks like it could go 4-way. So if you happen to have $6,000 just lying around and you want to do 4-way SLI with a really fast card, and if you really wanted, what would it work out to? 48 gig of graphic memory there, 12 times 4. Yeah. Yep.
It's tempting.
There's more GPU RAM in my computer than there is RAM in my computer.
That's actually kind of frightening to think about.
It is.
We should probably talk about one more kind of, for me, it was kind of a big surprise. I guess it felt like it came really late. And maybe that's because like Ryan was typing this up at 4:46. Like I think he was probably had one foot jammed in the door of the airplane while he got this article out. He got a demo of the flagship AMD Radeon R9 GPU powering VR.
And it is in the cheesiest looking case. The PC case in that article. It's so hilarious. It's like
I think I have that PC case sitting in a corner of my garage.
Yeah,
so
you
basically,
you bought that 12 or 15 years ago, right?
It just won't die. So Radeon R9 GPU running at GDC, powering an Oculus-based Epic Showdown video, and nothing else.
Yes, and the little dialogue back and forth there was pretty funny. Ryan's like, can I see it? And they're like, no. Can I take the side panel off and look at it? No. How do I know you're telling me the truth? I don't know what's in there. No.
GPU-Z, anything? Yeah.
No. So it just that wasn't going to happen. They weren't going to show it. You know, I don't know. We'll see it eventually, but
it could be the R9 390X with the integrated water cooler. They wouldn't let him look behind the case to see if there was a radiator. So at that point, I guess he gave up.
Yeah. Like if it was me, I might have tried to sneak around behind it. I'm like, all right, I'm not taking the side off. I'm not doing anything. I might have just like looked at the back to see, you know, if there was like an integrated 140 mil cooler just like sitting there out the back or something. But oh my goodness,
it sounded like he was, you know. Call me. I'm guessing here, but I'm thinking at this point Ryan was really irked. But impressed that they obviously are taking, because they had the Crescent Bay Oculus headset running, the Epic Showdown demo running, so it felt like they're taking VR seriously, even if they're not going to give him any answers that he wants.
Yep.
Huh. Oh my goodness. Let's take a moment to thank lynda.com, another sponsor of This Week in Computer Hardware. If you never checked it out, lynda.com is really cool. They are basically a place for you to learn. We know you love video because you hang out on Twit, because you listen to Twitch or you watch Twitch. I guess it's probably listening and loving video are not necessarily the same thing. But lynda.com/Twitch is a really good place to go to upgrade your skills. If you want to make things happen, master Excel, learn negotiation tactics, build a website, boost your Photoshop skills, lynda.com is everything you need to feed your curious mind. They have a really cool series now up and running with Java. They're doing localization for developers when you go international and have to move your stuff around. Android Studio Essential Training that runs through all the essential features of Android Studio and other critical resources you need to build an Android app. It's really, really cool. I've been a big fan of the Photoshop apps on lynda.com, or say the Photoshop lessons on lynda.com, because my Photoshop skills are miserable, and the instructors on lynda.com do a fantastic job of walking you through what you need to know to get things done, which is really, really cool. They're experts, are passionate about teaching, and they have thousands of video courses on demand. Learn at your own schedule, watch when you want, pretty much anywhere you want, bite-sized pieces, marathon sessions on your phone, on your computer. They'll let you save playlists of courses you want to watch to customize your learning path, or to share with other people like, hey, I did this and I did this, go check this out. We want you to go check out lynda.com. The membership gives you unlimited access to training on hundreds of topics, all for one flat rate. Do me a favor, whether you're an expert wanting to become an expert, whether you're just passionate about your hobby, or you just want to learn something new, please visit lynda.com/Twitch and sign up for the free 10-day trial. That's Lynda, lynda.com/Twitch, TWiCH. And we want to thank them for their support of This Week in Computer Hardware. You know, amidst all the sort of game developer conference news, there was some quieter news from Intel. I don't think Intel would like it to be called quieter news, but the Atom X3, X5, X7 processors for phones, tablets, and 2-in-1s, and I guess this was thrown down at the Mobile World Congress. It was a big week for kind of mobile and gaming news because of the overlapping of Mobile World Congress and game developers conference. Did you get a chance to talk to Ryan about these at all?
No, he has been running all over the place. And yeah, he's been strangely quiet, even on our backroom chat that we have for the review site. He's just been kind of like throwing up piece after piece after piece.
Oh my goodness! Well, it's hard because like Intel's still trying to launch. You know, Intel's still trying to get a big chunk of the mobile market. So at Mobile World Congress this week, and I think we might be on the optimization story rather than the processor story. I apologize for that. I think I got the links backwards. But they basically announced new Atom brand processors that are targeted. So Atom X3, the Atom X5, the Atom X7. Starting at the quote sub $75 phone market and stretching up into $400 tablets and all-in-one. So the high performance will obviously be the Intel Core M processors. You know, $350 down to $250. You got the Intel Atom X5, X7 with a discrete modem. And the value area, $150, $249 products, the X5 Wi-Fi only, and then the X3, which they do an LTE and a 3GR version with an integrated modem. And then the ULC under $75, Intel Atom X3 with an integrated 3G modem.
So they have a block diagram picture of this guy, and it might be the most blocks I have seen on a block diagram ever. Quite possibly.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy when you start looking at this. I'm
It's like, how
I'm
much
not
stuff
gonna.
can you cram into one CPU?
It's a little nuts. 'Cause I don't want to dive in too deep with this. Yeah, well, there's a lot of differences going on in these, and I'm going to wait for Ryan to get kind of deeper on this one because there are pretty significant differences in the processors. Because essentially they're going to really, really different markets. But it's crazy to look at it like, you know, eMMC 4.41, eMMC 4.51. Integration of like, you know, at the low end, it's like Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and GNSS. NFC comes in at the higher end stuff. There's just a crazy list of options going on in all of these. You know, mostly that, you know, it's not until it's kind of funny. It's like there's the 2-core 3G Intel Atom X3, the 4-core 3G Intel Atom X3, the 4-core LTE Intel Atom X3. And that's just the Intel Atom X3 processor configurations. It kind of goes on and on and on. 64-bit operating system, 8th generation HD graphics, which is essentially the same ones that are using Broadwell processors right now. Full x86 Windows support are built in, but Intel is going to be pushing them with Android. That block diagram for the X5 and X7 processors is just brutal. You know, because integrated sensor hub, Quad IO SPI, I2C, eMMC, PCI Express. It's just crazy looking at this. The Airmont dual core CPU, display controller,
like system on a chip that's definitely a system on a chip.
Yes.
Like seriously. Yeah. It's like just put everything on the chip. It's all over. All right.
So there's the graphics decoder, the image signal processor, security processor, the eMMC, SDIO, SDXC controller, the low power audio processor, the PCI Express controller, the USB 3.0 controller, the other USB 3.0 controller. I mean, it's kind of, I mean, it looks insane, but that's actually the power management and keep the power down. Yeah. I don't know. It's interesting. Compared to the Atom Z 3975 at 1.9 gigahertz, and the Atom X7 8700 running at 2.4 gigahertz is going to be about twice as fast in the T-Rex benchmark and about 50% faster in 3D Mark Ice Storm Unlimited. Other than that metric, Ryan says Intel isn't talking about the performance improvements of Cherry Trail, but instead is focusing on the user experience, touting Intel RealSense, WideEye, and TrueKey. WideEye just won't go away as the reasons users will want this platform over others.
It hasn't caught on, but it won't go away.
Yeah, well, Asus, Acer, Dell, HP, Lenovo, Toshiba have all signed on to build devices based on the Atom X5 and X7. Many due out before the middle of the year. So that's a big deal. That's a lot of wins for Intel.
Yep.
Crazy.
And then the one, I think that was the story before that, that was that Raptr stuff. We already talked about that?
No, because I apparently can't click on tabs in order.
Oh, okay. This basically looks just like Intel's answer to like GeForce Experience, like that kind of thing. You know, a little software that comes up and says, "Hey, there's a new GPU driver for you." But what if you have Intel integrated graphics, right? Which is actually not too shabby for integrated. I mean, it's actually kind of coming along, like the Iris stuff and the, you know, some of those are pretty darn powerful, like surprisingly powerful for what they are. And it looks, you know, just kind of like that. Actually, the second picture down is just showing you what the pop-up would look like. And like, hey, here's, you know, there's a new driver available. Make sure you got it. And it'll probably do some other tweaks with like, you know, making sure your game settings are good, optimized for that particular hardware. So, yeah, I mean, it's not much more to say other than that. I don't think it's out yet. I'm not sure. But we'll have to just get some time with it and see if there's any other coolness to that.
I just want driver upgrades to be easier for laptops. It's so frustrating to be sent from the, you know, graphics manufacturer to the laptop manufacturer and be able to not get the latest feature you want from either one of them.
Yeah. It has gotten a little bit better with the NVIDIA stuff, at least. Like recently, they're not so much locked to particular laptops, and you can just go and grab like the latest version of GeForce driver and just works. But yeah, it definitely didn't used to be like that. And oh man, I don't remember how long ago. It might have been like 10 years back or something, where you had to do like those INI hacks or whatever. Like you'd download the new driver and then you'd have to like modify the files, and it was like an INF hack. Man, what was that called? Some guy was putting out like an INF that just had like all of the hardware, right? And you would basically take that and just stick it into the NVIDIA driver, the new one, and then like it would let you install it. And yeah, those are the pains we had to go through back in the day. Well, it was either that or you wait for the laptop manufacturer to get around to going, oh, there's a new driver, and then let's test it on all of our test builds. And like in that process, it takes time, right? It takes like a month or two, maybe even longer. So, you know, they weren't necessarily motivated to do every single update. And like, what if you had an update that you needed for some particular game that was real picky about the driver? You know, you were just kind of like, without having to go around the manufacturer and figuring it out for yourself. You know, you were just out of luck, right? You were just like waiting.
Yeah. That's how I
Thank
feel
goodness
about
thank goodness that's not so much like yeah. Thank goodness that's not so much the case anymore for the graphics stuff, at least.
It's a good thing. One last thing from Game Developers Conference. Intel demo socketed LGA 1150 Broadwell CPU with Iris Pro graphics. Quote, writes Ryan, consumers have been asking for it since the first time Intel announced it, but Iris Pro graphics is finally finding its way to the desktop socketed market, so empowering one of Dell's new 5K displays. This processor, shipping in, quote, mid-2015, unquote, is going to be configured with a 65-watt TDP and unlocked for overclockers to TWiCH. So then there's a big old basic announcement down there. Oh, actually, what you're looking at right there is the new NUC, which is going to have the Iris Pro graphics, which is one of the things that will benefit from this. But yeah, it's pretty interesting. So the 5th generation Core LGA socketed CPU with Intel Iris Pro graphics, not straight from Intel's press release. Quote, new levels of performance and power efficiency to mini PCs and desktop all-in-ones. And then a lot of fluff about increasing the 3D performance of roughly 100-fold on Intel 3D Mark 06, Intel 3D Mark 06. But basically, it's going to show up at Acer, Medion, and the Intel NUCs like the one you just saw there with the new 5th generation Intel Core processors.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, those
it's
NUCs are a little bit pricey, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Especially for such a small system like that. But again, it's like a lot of power in a very tiny box. And you know, basically take up almost no footprint on your desktop, or you can even like stick it to a VESA mount on the back of a TV and poof, set-top box, right? Or just full-blown HD PC with plenty of graphics power too. So yeah, it's cool. It's cool stuff. It's just that since this is the brand new generation stuff, it also carries a little bit of a price tag too. So
it always carries a little bit of a price tag.
That's true. One
last story, so move on towards the question. Wall Street Journal footnote suggests a 12-inch MacBook Air could be announced by Apple as early as Monday. Ben Lovejoy wrote this up for 9to5 Mac. It's interesting. Tucked away at the bottom of the Wall Street Journal's report on the oft-postponed iPad Pro is a single sentence that, if correct, suggests that Apple's could announce the 12-inch MacBook Air as early as Monday. We'll find out. The launch schedule remains unclear, but it'll be interesting. If you've been thinking about buying a new MacBook Air, you might want to hold off for a couple weeks.
And I still can't help but feel that they're kind of like day late and an inch short.
Yeah.
Right? Because the XPS 13 is gorgeous and it fits right in that footprint. Like it's that size. So Dell can make that. That's even like basically the same dimensions and basically the same laptop except different OS and you know, that kind of thing. But that aside, and like the screen is basically bezel-less. Just takes the rest of that space.
Maybe they'll take the next step and just decide to offer OS 10 on the XPS 13. That would be perfect. That would be sick. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, no. Probably not.
Life is not perfect and broken screens are part of my life. I'm actually sitting right now, oddly enough, in the iFixit studio here in Slowtown in California. So it's kind of cool that I'm actually doing this because I'm doing an iFixit ad. iFixit.com is a free online repair manual for everything. We want to And I gotta say, we love iFixit. It's kind of cool. It was really cool for us to get in the building right now. iFixit is the free online repair manual for everything. We have more than 10,000 repair guides for everything from electronics like your smartphone, tablet, and game console, your home appliances, clothing, and even your bike. They have foolproof instructions to fix your stuff. Shattered iPhone screens, need to repair the red ring of death in your Xbox. Hundreds of thousands of people have, or swap the battery in your Galaxy S5. iFixit has got you covered with parts, tools, and repair guides. iFixit also makes the most trusted repair tools for consumer electronics, including the ProTech Toolkit, which is really, really nice. 70 tools to assist you with any mod, malfunction, or misfortune that comes your way. The toolkit is the gold standard for electronics work, from garage hackers to the CIA and FBI. But more importantly, their unique tools are used by technicians everywhere. Matter of fact, I am opening up right now a brand new, current state-of-the-art ProTech Toolkit from iFixit. The heart of this thing is right in the middle there, just where the heart should be. The 54-bit driver kit. Philips bits, those irritating little bits that those nice people at Apple came up with to make opening their products and repairing them and owning them. If you can't open it, do you really own it, people? And it's a really nice set of drivers. As somebody who spent a staggering amount of his youth and adult life screwing and unscrewing things, the tools are solid. The build quality is excellent, and I think the value is pretty good there. Tri-wing bits for video game consoles, triangle bits for the, if you have a collection of McDonald's toys inside of there. They've got sputters. They've got hobby knives inside of here. Pretty much anything you need to crack open and repair electronics, and a really nice set of tweezers. Actually, 3 sets of tweezers inside of here. And if you've never seen a spudger, kids, you probably haven't been watching This Week in Computer Hardware very often. But essentially, they've been going through, we got to see where the engineers are designing and working on new designs, and they're continually working to make the tools work better. And I'm kind of excited to tear this one out and get into some mayhem in my own house. Suction cups are critical for modern day screen repairs. $64.95, backed by a lifetime warranty. Best of all, seriously, the tools are awesome, but the free iFixit guide are amazing because they're going to help you take the tools, put them into use, and make things whole again. With iFixit, you can fix it yourself. Visit iFixit.com/twit for more than 10,000 free step-by-step guides. iFixit also sells every part and tool you'll need. And if you enter the code TWiCH, TWiCH, at checkout, you'll save $10 off any purchase of $50 or more. That's iFixit.com/twit and use the code TWiCH to save yourself $10. And we want to thank them for sponsoring This Week in Computer Hardware. We got a chat room question before we get too far, and we want to actually start getting people to email us again to twitch@twit.tv is the email address. When are drives getting bigger? Apparently 6 terabyte drives are not big enough and people want bigger drives, Alan. So you are the expert in storage. How long before we get 8 and 12 terabyte hard drives?
So there are 8 and there are 10, but they're all enterprise.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, like there's an HE8, which is helium-filled 8, which is not the kind you want to just stick in your desktop PC at home because it's kind of pricey. It'll be really power efficient, don't get me wrong, because it's filled with helium. But that's not, you're kind of paying the excess there in the price for what you're getting when really you just want to store 8 terabytes. Honestly, the good way to go right now, once you get past that, once you're really high in the storage amount of things you need to store, it's kind of a given that you're going to do some sort of a RAID. Like that's just goes with the territory. If RAID didn't exist, if nobody had figured that out ever, then we would have larger than 6 terabyte disks right now, like mainstream. Like we'd probably have 20 terabyte disks mainstream right now, because there would have been such a pressure for larger hard drives if people just couldn't figure out how to spread data across multiple of them, right? But we don't. So, so we're at where we're at. If you want more storage and you have just 6 terabyte drives at your disposal, then, feel free to take a bunch of them and hook them all up all at the same time.
Are those all 6 terabyte drives?
Those are all 6 terabyte drives. Just plug
That's
them all
60
in
terabytes of drives right there, dude.
Well, yeah. Yeah, but I'm crazy. So, that's just the thing, right?
Well,
yeah.
let me ask you one more question that we got. One of the viewers at techthing.com sent to me. He wants to know, with all the strides that have been made with SSD technology, where are the drives above 1 terabyte, or where are more accurately the reasonably priced drives above 1 terabyte? He doesn't want to work around because the workflow is better having everything on one drive.
So the cost per gig, it's actually to the point now where you're not so much paying a premium for the top tier, right? So you'll see like a 1 terabyte. Let's see, what's a good example of something? I think they're making the BX100, the Crucial BX100. I think that's available on a 1 terabyte. Yeah, it should be available on 1 terabyte. And that's like the launch price was 40 cents a gig. Right. So, and it was basically, that was the cheapest. Like the cheapest was at the highest capacity. So it wasn't like you're paying excess just to get that most capacity on an SSD, because now they're to the point where the 1 terabyte models only have chips on like one side of the board.
So we can anticipate like 2 terabyte SSD drives showing up in the. I mean, are they going to show up anytime soon, or does that just seem too expensive for drive manufacturers to go after?
It's not that it's expensive. I mean, it's easily buildable. It's just that there hasn't been enough of a market to justify it yet.
That makes sense.
That's what's working against it, right? There hasn't been such a demand. Granted, there are people asking, like, you know, like this email that you got. There are a few, but that's very few. It's kind of in line with people doing 4-way SLI, right? If you really want to go that far for one volume, right? And alternatively, like there is a workaround, right? There is RAID,
right?
And it's personally, my opinion, it's almost foolish if you're gonna go that large to not spread it out across at least 2 SSDs, especially if you're on an Intel motherboard, because their SATA controller is extremely good at scaling all the way up to 3. Basically, you could do a 3 SSD RAID 0 before you really hit any kind of bottleneck with the recent generation motherboard, chipsets. Once you put the 4th in there, now your bottleneck is shifting over to DMI bus throughput, which basically it's like there's other buses that can't handle more than like 2 gigabytes per second. So once you hit 4 drives, you kind of like run up against that bottleneck. But 2 drives, there's really kind of no excuse. It's really simple. You set it up in the BIOS. It just shows up as 1 drive letter. There's really no special. You don't really need anything special. Like if you're on Windows 8 or up, especially, like the drivers are all built in.
RAID 1, RAID 0. How would you set that up?
Well, if you're looking for capacity specifically, you'd do a RAID 0. Obviously, make sure you're doing your backups and try to avoid drives that are known to have issues and stuff like that. If you see a bunch of negative reviews, that's probably not the SSD you're looking for. Right. But I mean, there's a lot of SSD manufacturers out there that are making really good, reliable drives, and you're probably fine with 2, especially if you're backing up to your 6 terabyte drive that you probably also have in that same system. Right. Absolutely no excuse to back up. Like there's, so if you're worried about your system drive being a little bit less reliable for any reason, there really should be no reason, because that drive should be backed up like on a very regular basis. There should pretty much be no excuse. So given that, you're kind of you might as well just RAID a couple of them, right? And we found this out with when the Samsung 840 Evo slowdown issue came out. There were an awful lot of people emailing me saying, hey, how do I, because they came out with the fix that kind of sort of fixed the drives, but that's a long story. But there was a fix that basically you had to unraid the drives in order to apply it. And it was kind of tricky. And I got flooded with emails from people. Like I was shocked at how many people were running a rated pair of smaller capacity. They just chose to buy like 2 120s to make a 240 that was a RAID 0. And you got 2x the performance from the drive. You get twice the capacity, twice the performance, twice the IOPS. Like everything just scales neatly. It's like you just doubled the speed of it. So, yeah. I mean, it's, unless you just only have 1 port to plug it into. So for all those reasons, just if it was 2 terabytes,
screw 2 terabyte SSDs, buy 2 1 terabyte SSDs, and no, you've convinced me. I'm sold.
No, I mean that's like $800 to spend on 1 drive.
Right.
Well, you'd spend the same $800 on 2 1 terabyte drives, and the end result is it would be twice as fast and on twice as nimble and all that other stuff, right?
No, I'm sold. I'm sold.
Yeah, that's just where you're at.
Jeff,
If you want to be on the
you
bleeding
sold?
edge, sometimes you just got to do the raid. Unfortunately.
Do another
Just,
shot of the 60
be careful-
terabytes down.
Be careful with this. Be careful with that.
Where did you get that? That's awesome.
We made those shirts for QuakeCon. Colleen caused us to create that phrase because she was running like 4 regular hard drives in a RAID 0. It was 4 or 6. And we told her that was a Deathwish raid. And she needed to change that. And the phrase just stuck.
I like
so.
that.
Deathwish raid is like a RAID 0 of many, many spinning Rust hard drives. It's like you're just asking for it. SSDs, you can pull it off, but hard drives, not so much.
But in any case, back up your drives.
Yeah,
I have to wrap this up because I am keeping someone from getting home to their family right now. But is there anything that's coming up on PC Per outside of Ryan probably kissing the ground and then firing up the television to watch whatever Kentucky games he's managed to TiVo in absence?
Well, we got some storage stuff coming in like the next day or two, and then a few other things next week, and then a few other things a couple weeks after that. It's just nothing yet, nothing right now. But it's coming. So yeah, that's it for storage stuff. And then I mean, I'm sure Ryan's probably come back from GDC with some other stuff that's still under wraps that he's not allowed to talk about yet. And or stuff that's being shipped to the office for us to check out and write about. It's always happening. So
it's always happening. Yeah. There's always more stuff.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness! Actually, it was funny. Shannon got to review the Boogie Board Sync this week, which is a crazy. There's a $30 version of it and an $80 version of it, and it's essentially like they call it an e-writer. So it's a tablet with e-ink like paper that you write onto. It'll capture your writing, your images. We got a bunch of free antivirus picks. I got a headphones for under $100. And we talk about the Banana Pi, which is not a Raspberry Pi. And if you want to learn more about that, go to techthing.com. If you want to find more of Allyn's work, I highly recommend you should go check it out at pcper.com. And if you've never listened to the podcast before, do us a favor, go to twit.tv/twitch, where you'll find all of our back catalog. This is episode 305, and information on how to subscribe to make sure you get it each and every week. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Ryan's going to be back this week. Allyn, thank you so much for making the time to join us. I'm Patrick Norton.
I'm Allyn Malventano.
We'll see you next week on Twitch.